organic, unpredictable, unknown, lovely, beautiful, a sense of fulfillment. This is part of the pleasures of life and not the chores of life.
Coming up on Daily Iowan TV, find out how hackers may be using your cell phone to steal your identity.
Plus, find out why the recent warm weather has some local farmers seriously worried.
Plus, the spring football season is underway, and it's also underway for some student coaches who have some crazy work hours. I'll explain more in sports.
That's all coming your way next.
Daily Iowan TV starts now.
I'm Tom Brokaw. For more than 100 years now, the University of Iowa community has been waking up to the Daily Iowan. Today, it's the largest newsroom in eastern Iowa. And now you can see the news every night on Daily Iowan TV and get it anytime worldwide at dailyiowan.com.
Thanks for tuning into your Tuesday edition of Daily Iowan TV. I'm Tasha Woods.
And I'm Josh Bolander. Today, a judge ruled the UI will have to once again pay a professor placed on administrative leave in December of 2010. Following the judge's ruling, radiology professor Malik Jawed will once again collect his $240,000 salary. Jawed was placed on leave after allegations that he was creating a hostile work environment. He said it was his co-workers who initiated the racially charged conflict. Jawed was originally placed on paid leave, then unpaid leave. The decision today restored his salary once again.
Today, Iowa lawmakers reached an agreement to continue funding 36 workforce development centers around the state. The Supreme Court ruled earlier this month that Governor Terry Branstad overstepped his authority when he decided to close the offices. Today, the state legislators agreed to maintain $8.67 million in funding to keep the offices open. The development centers offer services and training for the unemployed.
With the recent warm weather, local farmers are getting a head start on the growing season. But that might not be the best thing after all. The trees at Wilson's Apple Orchard in Iowa City are experiencing changes they're not used to at this point in the year. The owner says he and other farmers are worried about a late frost damaging the plants. But with the warmth also helping to keep the number of potentially harmful insects low, farmers say this year's harvest could be hard to predict.
The problem is because we're, like I just said, a month early, the chance of frost, just the time we have to worry about the chance of frost is a lot longer.
These days, it seems people use their cell phone for everything from checking email to paying bills. But along with the convenience, access to private information has increased, leading to a greater risk of identity theft. Daily Iowan TV's Brad Maxwell tells us why students should think twice before posting personal information on their mobile devices.
We power up our devices, punch a few letters into the keyboard, and set off to surf our favorite apps or websites. But how often do you think about what information is being accessed?
I think probably the most difficult thing is that students aren't always aware what is being taken because we don't necessarily know what companies are taking from our data yet.
A recent report published on the Energy and Commerce Committee website supports that idea. The report states that apps have the potential to collect address book information and personal photos on mobile devices without receiving user consent. And while this may come as a surprise to some, Brian Eckdell suggests users should be aware of the repercussions when downloading an app.
Anytime you download an app or you sign up for a website, you are taking a risk that they may not be using your information in the way you want, or that someone else might be able to get that information and use it in a way that you don't want either.
Congressmen are responding to this issue by launching an investigation into the privacy of Apple's App Store. They have sent out letters to numerous social networking apps such as Twitter and Facebook, calling for a better understanding of the privacy and security practices in the app marketplace. Despite the investigation, officials suggest users ultimately hold responsibility over what information they put on the web.
If you think you're sharing it with friends, you think you're safe, but you never know where that information is going to go once it gets online. So I guess be careful kind of what you sign up for and be careful with what you share.
Even though networking sites can provide a great place to communicate with friends, users need to be aware of the vast amount of information available through today's technology. I'm Brad Maxwell, Daily Iowan TV.
Letters addressing app privacy were also sent to Google regarding issues in their Android App Store. Still to come on Daily Iowan TV, we take you inside the booth at Iowa City's newest radio channel.
Plus, Aaron White has a strong finish to his basketball season, and he's being rewarded for his play. We'll tell you about the freshman's most recent award later in sports.
That's coming up in just a bit, but now it's time to check in with Christina Targos for your local forecast. Christina.
Thanks, Tasha. Wednesday is looking to be a very comfortable day for us here in Iowa City. Wednesday morning will be 55 degrees, reaching up to 72 and sunny in the afternoon, and back down to 56 in the evening. Our 6-day forecast is going to stay fairly warm. Wednesday's high 72 and sunny. Thursday will dip down a bit to 66 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Friday will have a high of 70 degrees, but with a 30% chance of isolated thunderstorms. Saturday will have a high of 72 degrees with some cloud cover throughout the day. Sunday will be the warmest of the week with a high of 80 degrees, and Monday will dip back down again to a high of only 67 degrees and windy. Now that's your check of the forecast. Back to you at the desk.
A group of UI students came together Monday night to honor the legacy of civil rights worker Cesar Chavez. The Food for Thought event was sponsored by Sigma Lambda Beta Multicultural Fraternity and aimed to educate people about Chavez's influence in not only agricultural communities, but also in the fight against police brutality. Fraternity members stressed the importance of learning from the past.
If we don't remember how the past groups were oppressed, then we're not going to be able to evolve and move forward to accept these new groups. So I guess just to remember how people suffered so we don't have to suffer in the future.
The event featured a meal as well as speakers, games, and activities.
A local real estate company is coming under fire yet again. On Monday, lawyers for the Iowa Tenants Project filed suit against the owners of apartments downtown and apartments near campus over allegations that they charged tenants illegally and issued false eviction notices. This is not the first time such allegations have occurred. Several groups have filed similar lawsuits against the company going back to 2010.
People in Iowa City may be familiar with the university's KRUI radio channel, but there's another radio frequency in town many haven't discovered yet. Daily Iowan TV's Nick Rector tunes us in.
Most people already know that inside the IMU sits KRUI Radio, the second largest student organization at Iowa. Since 1976, KRUI has been rocking locals with music, sports shows, and hard news from the frequency of 89.7 FM. However, what many people don't know is that KRUI also hosts an online stream called The Lab. This is different than the main air. And if you're a new DJ at KRUI, you'll probably find yourself starting here.
They try to start you with a lab show because it tends to be the best way to kind of get your feet wet a little bit.
The lab sits just down the hall from the main studio, and like its online stream, you wouldn't know where to find it unless someone told you. And although you can only listen to the lab online, listeners may find the show content to be a little different from the main air. If not, better.
I feel like with the main studio, a lot of times there's a lot of pressure just to kind of do what KRUI wants. But when you're in the lab, you kind of have the freedom to do whatever you like. There's less restrictions for the FCC because you're not actually on the air, on the FM air. You can pretty much say and do anything on the lab.
So if you want to listen to KRUI with a little more spice, the lab online is just a few clicks away. Nick Rector, Daily Iowan TV.
And now Daily Iowan TV's Jake Abrams is here for a look at Hawkeye sports.
Football is back in Iowa City as Kirk Ferentz, Phil Parker, and a few new faces on the Iowa sidelines get to work in preparation for the 2012 season. And while the football program would struggle to succeed without its coaches, many people don't realize the long road that its graduate assistants take in order to make the wheels of the program turn. Daily Iowan TV correspondent Tom McLean has more.
4:30 in the morning is a time for most people to be fast asleep, resting, recovering, and dreaming. This is not the case, though, for the graduate assistants at Iowa football. But what does being a graduate assistant mean?
You have to be able to give information in the press box during a game to your coordinator who's trying to call plays, and you also have to fill the fridge.
With such a wide variety of tasks asked of graduate assistants, or GAs as they're more commonly known, they must be ready to handle anything that is thrown at them. Each morning starts with simple tasks, but these tasks play an important role in allowing the program to run smoothly and effectively.
The Iowa graduate assistants are really the glue that hold the program together. But when do they find the time to get their schoolwork done?
If we work 12-hour days, Our schoolwork is done beforehand, at 5 in the morning, or it's done afterward at 11 at night.
The program is designed to take 3 years, with each assistant taking an average of 3 classes a semester. To a full-time student, this may not seem like a lot, but with a 12-hour workday, there is not much time for sleep.
It's hard to gauge how many hours you get. Really, I look at it from the standpoint that if I can be in bed by midnight and up by 4:30, there's 4.5 hours of solid sleep that I can have.
As alarm clocks begin to ring for most University of Iowa students, these two are already halfway through their workday. Tom McLean, Daily Iowan TV.
And while football season is just beginning, it's now over for the Iowa basketball team and star freshman Aaron White, but the Strongsville, Ohio native has been named to the 2012 All-American freshman team. Some names that joined the 6'8" forward are Austin Rivers of Duke, Cody Zeller of Indiana, and Anthony Davis of Kentucky. Pretty impressive names there. White finished the season with 18 games in double figures and posted 4 double-doubles. He also led the Hawkeyes in rebounds with 9 in the last 13 games and finished his rookie season pulling down 199 boards. 15 other freshmen join Aaron White on the All-American freshman team. And junior wrestler Matt McDonough has earned a wild card berth to compete in the men's U.S. Olympic team trials in Iowa City. The 2-time NCAA champion will compete on Sunday, April 22nd for a shot to represent the United States at the 2012 London Olympics. McDonough is the 7th Hawkeye wrestler scheduled to compete for the chance to represent the United States. And we're now 4 days before the Final Four down in New Orleans. Kentucky, Louisville, Ohio State, and Kansas are set to tip off for a shot at the NCAA championship, and we wanted to see what Iowa City students think will win it all.
I think Kentucky's going to beat Louisville, and I got Kansas beating Ohio State.
I'm going to go with Kentucky because I have a bet with her, and yeah. She says Louisville's going to win, but she's wrong.
I like Ohio State to win because I want somebody from the Big Ten to win it all.
I would like Ohio State Buckeyes to win the Final Four because they deserve it and they're a really good team.
Well, that's going to do it for sports. Tasha and Josh, back to you.
Thanks, Jake. And now let's go beyond Iowa and take a look at some of the top headlines from around the globe. Airline workers striking over a pay issue have caused hundreds of flights to be delayed in Germany. At the nation's busiest airport, it's estimated that 95% of employees are on strike. Pay discussions are set to resume tomorrow.
Demonstrators in Indonesia have taken to the streets over plans to increase fuel prices. Protesters broke down a fence outside the country's parliament and sang anti-government chants. Officials called in over 20,000 security officers to deal with the rallies.
And legislators in Israel are shaking up the world by placing a ban on underweight models. Models who score too low on a body mass index test will not be allowed to catwalk on commercials. Supporters say ultra-thin models promote eating disorders, and although the issue has been talked about for years, Israel is the first country to pass such a law.
And before we go, take a look at this. After breaking history at the box office, James Cameron has done it again. This time reaching the lowest point on Earth. The director journeyed nearly 7 miles underwater to a spot in the Mariana Trench. The dive took over 2 hours, but was scheduled to last 6. Cameron is the 3rd person to reach the depth, but the first to do it solo.
And only with Daily Iowan TV can you get a sneak peek into Wednesday's pages of the Daily Iowan. Read about some UI students who traveled to Des Moines Tuesday to rally for more education funding.
Plus, why reform efforts for the state's mental health care system couldn't come soon enough for healthcare providers in Johnson County.
That's your latest edition of Daily Iowan TV.
Be sure to check us out at the same time tomorrow or anytime online at dailyiowan.com.
Thanks for watching and have a great night.